Hey everybody, today I bring you a video of my strawberry jam making process. This is going to be a very rough video, minimal editing. I just wanted to record the process just to show everyone, in particular my new friend Trisha, hey Trisha, that canning jams and jelly is not that hard. It's not very scary. It's scary when you think about it, but when you actually do it a few times, you realize it's a pretty simple, basic process. So this video walks you through the process, and I give you a few tips and tricks. And this is actually my second batch today. So I'm actually filming my intro after I finished everything, because I didn't explain what I'm doing and anything like that in my first clip. So basically it's just a tutorial video on the jam making process, and I like listening to myself talk, so I thought I would record it. So hope you enjoy the video, and I hope you make lots of jams and jellies. Thanks. Okay, so here I am at the first step of the jam making process. So I have my pot with boiling water covering 8 half-pint jars. I have my 5 cups of strawberries crushed coming up to temperature. I will be adding the packet of pectin soon. I am using, hold on, this original Sure Gel. So it's 1 whole packet for each batch. So the last batch I did 6 jars for canning. Here they are, they've already sealed up. And then I did 2 jars for the refrigerator, or just to give out as gifts right now, that aren't shelf stable for canning. So like I said, the first step is get your jars clean, and then in boiling water, they must boil for 10 minutes to sterilize. So they're in the pot, they're boiling. I've got my 5 cups of crushed strawberries. Now I don't crush them all the way. I like to leave them pretty chunky, because I like to have, by the end of the process, still chunks of fruit. And it cooks down a lot, so I like to leave kind of bigger chunks. So it will be hard for me to record while I'm actually stirring and doing it, but at this point I'm bringing the strawberries up to boiling temperature. I will add the pectin, bring it back up to temperature, and then I'll bring you back. Okay, so here are the strawberries once the pectin is added. And I'm stirring it, and it doesn't hold a rolling boil yet, so it's not time to add the sugar. So we just keep cooking it until it holds a rolling boil. And the jars are still in there boiling away. I take them out just before I'm ready to fill them, so they get maximum amount of sterilization. Okay, I've got a rolling boil in my strawberries, so I'm going to add my 7 cups of sugar all at once. Whoops. It's kind of hard to record this and stir at the same time. So now I'm stirring in my 7 cups of strawberries. Now that's going to bring down the temperature of the strawberries, so it's going to take a while to get back to the rolling boil. But what you're looking for after the sugar has been added is to maintain a rolling boil for 1 minute. They say exactly. Don't let that exactly scare you. You'll know when you have a rolling boil when you stir it and it doesn't stop boiling. Also with jams, you know that you have a rolling boil because it starts to foam up a little bit. They say you can add butter to keep the foaming down. I've never done that. I just do it straight, and the foam doesn't seem to bother me. So you can see here, we got the fruit and the sugar now and the pectin. And now we just keep stirring on high heat until we get a rolling boil. Then we take it off the heat and begin to fill our jars. I'll bring you back for some of that. One important step one important tip during this process is once you've added your sugar and you've got your burner on high, do not walk away. I did that once. It was a horrible, horrible mess. It will boil over. So you want to make sure that you're right here watching it, stirring it every few seconds. Okay, my rolling boil was achieved. So now, here's my strawberries. I'm letting the foam basically go down a little bit. That's what I do. You can like skim off the top and the foam, but that's where the berries are. The berries float on top. So I just stir it around a little bit, let it cool off, let the boiling stop, and it's fine. Also what I'm, oh, I can't switch the camera around. I hate doing this part because I can't see if I'm pointing to the right thing. Yes, there. I've got the lids and rings in what was boiling water, because what you have to do is you have to heat up the little seal that's on the flat lid. The rings just kind of hold it there while the sealing takes place. So you boil the water first. Some people cook them on the stove and boil them for the 10 minutes. I don't. If they're brand new, I just take boiling water, sink them in there, and let them sit. I figure that's good enough. So now I will begin taking my jars out and filling them. I have lost my canner funnel, so I have to do it very carefully, and I have to wipe off the threads and the top very well before placing the lids on. But maybe I'll commandeer somebody to take the camera so I can show actually doing that. Alright, so here we are with barking dogs and everything. Got my UV glove on to protect myself. Like I said, I have a funnel somewhere, can't find it. I highly suggest you use a funnel, but you carefully ladle the very hot jam into your jars. And it's going to get a little sticky and a little bit messy. And what you want to do is you want to fill it up to 1/4 of an inch from the top, so quite full. And you just set them down and you keep filling them. Like I said, this is very hot and it's sugary and sticky, so be very careful because it will stick right to your skin. You fill it right up to the top there. That one's all right. And what I did is I took my lids out and I poured the water that was boiling and heating up my lids and rings, and I put it into my boiling pot because I had lost some to evaporation, to make sure I had my jars covered by 1 to 2 inches of water. So I added a little bit of water to my pot. Whoops, that was too full. So sometimes you gotta scoop some back out, which makes a bit of a mess, but nothing a wet paper towel won't fix. So you just keep scooping and ladling in the jars. Now this got rid of 2 boxes of strawberries, but we got another, what, 2 boxes to go? 3 boxes? Another 2 boxes to go. So I'll probably be freezing some. So while I'm filling this, I'll talk a little bit about how we freeze them. So strawberries will change their texture when they're frozen, once they thaw out. But they're excellent in baked goods and making like a strawberry syrup or strawberry pie, things like that. Oh, that one's a little bit full too. I don't like it when I do that. So what we usually do, because we like to use strawberries in our smoothies, so I package them small. So we wash them, we hull them, and then we cut them in like maybe quarters and put them in the little Ziploc snack bags, because those are small. So those you can kind of crunch up and fit in your blender okay. I have a Blend Tech, which is pretty strong, but the size of some of these berries, if I were to just freeze them whole and then put them in a Ziploc bag, I wouldn't fit some of these strawberries in my Blend Tech. So, you know, you just figure out how you're going to use the strawberries best. It's not like you'll thaw them out and eat them like you just got them out of the fields. They're not going to be the same. This is going to be just enough to fill these 8 jars. And now the dogs decided to go ahead and start WrestleMania 3 out there. So they even get the little one riled up. So you just fill up your jars. It's almost full. Let me tilt this. And if you have a little left over, if you have a spaghetti jar or anything like that lying around, just fill that and stick it in your fridge. If you got too much jelly that you're going to use right away, you know, give it to a neighbor. Share the love. So I'm going to get this last one filled. Alright, so now the process gets just a tiny bit tricky. I'm going to get a paper towel. And I'm going to dampen it a little bit. And then I'm going to go by each one. Now the jars are going to be super hot. And what I'm doing is I'm running along the threads and the top of the jar so that when I put the lids on, it's very hot. It's going to get a nice good seal. I'm going to have to switch back to my UV glove. So those two are clear. Now they're easier to pick up once they have the lids on them. So what I'll do, so these are coming out of the boiling water. I just put the lid on, take the ring, and you just want to do it finger tight. You don't want to go overly tight, but you just tighten it till it stops. Shake the water off, put the lid on. Try to screw the ring, but unless you have something to hold the jar, there we go. And I think I did this one. The canning process really used to scare me because it seemed like everything had to be exact. And then you do it a few times and you realized you're not going to die if you do it just a little bit different. If, you know, some people use their dishwasher to sanitize their jars. I have a dishwasher. I don't do that because it's usually full of dirty dishes. Ow, 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 hot. Quite wet this paper towel a little bit more. The wet paper towel helps wipe up the sugary stuff from the lids, from the threads and the top. So I like it to be a little bit damp because it just wipes off nicely. And yes, I'm touching the top with my fingers. They're clean. So then you just go through, screw on your lids, hot. If you see one's not quite as full as you thought, you could add a little to it, like I'm gonna do. This one is just about a 1/2 inch from the top, so I want to be sure. So I add a little bit more. As this sits, it's going to start actually solidifying now. So it starts turning into jelly or jam right away. So let's turn this on there. Whoop. Sometimes it's hard to get the rings on right. Wipe this one off. On. All right, now we're going to be taking our jars, holding it from the top because they're not quite as hot. And whoops, I forgot to take my rack up here. I'm going to load up my rack with my jars because you have to process these for 10 minutes. see how these are going to fit. They go side by side there. Yes, they will. So you lower them down into the boiling water. Oh yeah, we got a good 2 inches there. So now they're going to boil for the 10 minutes. I don't set a timer. I just kind of look at the clock. Again, not very exact. Let them boil for 10 minutes. Take them out, set them on a towel, and within 15-20 minutes or so, you'll start hearing them pop. That pop means that they sealed properly and they're now shelf stable. Now, officially, Ball and Mason and Sure-Gel will tell you they're shelf stable for 1 year. But go back to the Depression, go back to anybody that used to put up food, and it lasts longer than a year. So, but you know, the official is 1 year. But we use a lot of the jams and jellies as gifts because we pick during charity U-Picks when it's cheap, and you know, the cost of a bag of sugar and the jars. But you know, I always look for sales and I stockpile the jars and I reuse them. So people that turn in their jars get more jam. So hope you've enjoyed this process. Hope it helps anybody that's thinking about doing jams or jellies. This is a jam. That means that there's fruit in it, in the jelly. I do some jellies, and maybe I'll record that one if y'all like this very much. So thanks for watching. See you soon.